Hello everybody, the Lawn Gnome is here. Welcome back to another One That Got Away triple feature. That's right, so many movies that I missed in theaters last year that I just couldn't stop myself from actually watching and reviewing for you. The theme that connects all three of these films together today is the topic of being a legendary character. And I have three movies that actually do involve somewhat legendary characters. The first movie that we are actually going to talk about is a movie called Legend, which stars Tom Hardy as the legendary British gangsters from the 1960s. And did I mention that they are identical twins? And of course, this was a movie that was very intriguing to me. Unfortunately, it did not hit many theaters around me, so I didn't get the chance to really find a theater that would be showing it. But basically, it is the story of Ron and Reggie Kray, the legendary twins that were part of the English underground and organized crime bosses, and at the same time club owners, and doing all of this stuff off of the books and really being devious, evil bad boys in England in the 1960s. I am one who is a big fan of gangster stuff. I love movies like The Godfather and Goodfellas and The Untouchables, and of course one of my favorite television shows from the past 10 years was HBO's Boardwalk Empire. But that all involved American gangsters. I don't really know much about the gangsters that actually were overseas. So getting an opportunity to see a movie that involves British gangsters was very intriguing to me, and especially with all the other cast members that are in this film, like David Thewlis from the Harry Potter movies, Taron Egerton from Kingsman: The Secret Service, as well as the leading lady who is played by Emily Browning from Sucker Punch, and Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. My god, that girl has grown up very nicely. But I will have to say that the movie itself was not something that I enjoyed as much as I wanted to. I mean, don't get me wrong, the highlight of this movie is Tom Hardy. I mean, he's playing both of the Kray twins through the magic of split screen, and the thing that blows my mind is because of how different these two twins were, it's amazing to see how Tom Hardy was somewhat unrecognizable. You could sometimes forget the fact that it's one guy playing a set of twins. Because of how different and diverse their personalities were, Tom Hardy just gave such a brilliant acting performance. Absolutely brilliant. And not to give anybody else slack, I mean, I thought that everybody else, in terms of an acting perspective, was very good. I just felt that the movie was a little bit long and a little bit boring because there were so many other things going on, and I really feel that if they would have made it a shorter movie, everything I felt would have been told in a much easier to swallow fashion. And yeah, at some points you kind of can't understand what they're saying. I mean, I thought it would be nice, especially when it came to Tom Hardy playing Ronnie Kray, that there would be subtitles underneath, because I couldn't understand what he was saying half the time. But I thought that it was still a very interesting movie to see, especially because it was something new for me in terms of the history of gangsters out there, and I would definitely say don't shun this movie. This is a movie that if you like mob movies, you might like it better than I did. But I just felt that there was much to be desired, and I still thought that it was fun. But all in all, I'm going to give this movie 2 out of 4. So the next movie that I want to talk about is a legendary film line, and that, of course, is Creed. I guess some people would call it Rocky VII, but it is the story of Apollo Creed's son, who never truly knew his father, who is the legendary boxer, and one day, because of the fact that he did fight in his youth, he wanted to become a very famous boxer. But he didn't want to be Apollo Creed's son, he wanted to be Adonis Johnson himself. But when he goes to Philadelphia, he of course finds the legendary Rocky Balboa, and of course Sylvester Stallone portrays the character once again, and Rocky trains Adonis to become a legendary boxer, not just for carrying Apollo Creed's name, but also making a name for himself. So, I will admit this, guys, I'm not a big fan of the Rocky films. As a matter of fact, I'm not a big fan of boxing films in general. But I will not say that any of those movies are horrible. I personally love Rocky 3 and 4 because they are just over-the-top 80s cheese, and it is fantastic. For a first film like Rocky that actually won Best Picture in 1976, and to have this entire legacy of films, of course, from the legendary Sylvester Stallone, to sort of making not necessarily a spin-off, but a real passing of the torch. The final Rocky movie that could possibly create a whole bunch of Creed franchise films. And of course, Michael B. Jordan, who plays Creed, he did a phenomenal job. I absolutely loved his acting. I was actually surprised that he didn't get an Oscar nomination for Best Actor. I mean, I know that Sylvester Stallone got the Best Supporting Actor nod, but I thought that Michael B. Jordan really did a fantastic job. And I also thought that the film work for this movie was wonderful, especially when you get into the ring and you see this beautiful camera work, especially during the first fight. To me, it was sort of like watching a live-action version of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! I absolutely loved the camera work. I also loved the score because while it wasn't Billy Conti, while you're listening to the score, you hear the undertones of the classic Rocky film in there, and I think that that's what makes it great, while making it its own sound for Creed and its own soundtrack. It was beautifully done. And there's also so many nods to the Rocky legacy, especially at the very end, with a very heartwarming moment between Rocky and Adonis. And the only fault that I feel that this movie actually has is the fact that I feel that it could have been a little bit shorter. I know for some strange reason, I am talking about how movies are too long. And you know something? A lot of people are not even going to see movies in theaters anymore because they don't want to spend that much time in a movie theater. I don't know why this movie was as long as it was. I feel that if you would have shaved off about 20 to 25 minutes of the movie, you would have definitely gotten the story out there for everybody to enjoy, and I feel that it would have actually been the perfect length. I feel that if the movie wasn't 2 hours and 15 minutes, maybe if it was 2 hours on the dot, maybe if it was even under 2 hours, a movie does not have to be 2 hours long to get the message out there and make a really enjoyable film. Creed is a great movie, guys. I would love to see this movie again, but I won't own it. If you love the Rocky movies, and you're sick and tired of all those horrible sequels that came out, I would say that this is far from it. It's a very good movie. It's very well acted. It's got a perfect blend of drama, excitement, of sports action, and comedy. I really think that this is one of the better films that came out in 2015, and I'm going to give Creed 3 out of 4. And now let's take a look at the final legendary character portrayed in film. We're going to take a look at the Joe Wright film Pan, starring Levi Miller, Garrett Hedlund, Hugh Jackman, and Rooney Mara. Now, flat out, guys, this movie is terrible. If you're a Peter Pan fan, you will be sick to your stomach because it basically takes the entire Peter Pan mythos and throws it in the garbage. Everything that you love about J.M. Barrie, I mean, he would be rolling in his grave if he saw this monstrosity of a film. It's a mess, it's all over the place, it doesn't make sense. I mean, that famous part that everybody has already talked about where all of a sudden all of these people, pirates, lost boys, whatever you want to call them, all of these miners start singing It Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana, and later on you hear the Blitzkrieg Bop when someone is walking the plank by the Ramones. I'm like, first of all, how does this fit? Number two, why is it there? I mean, do you see where I'm going with this, everybody? I mean, this movie is absolutely horrible. This is also one of the worst choices for great actors like Rooney Mara and Hugh Jackman to actually take. I'm doing you guys a favor. I shouldn't have watched this movie in the first place, especially when I saw all the horrible reviews that came out for it. It is a disgrace to the Peter Pan legacy. Don't see it. I am not seeing this movie again. I kind of am trying to watch as many great movies as I can to erase the memory of this film, because right now it seems to be doing a good job because I don't remember much about what happened in this film. Go watch Hook. Go watch the 2003 Peter Pan. Hell, go watch the Disney classic from anything to avoid this movie like the plague. You know, I really wish that someone like Ash from the Captain Vitus show was here. I mean, I can't use his rating system, but I would give this movie this rating if I could.
Gem in the Holograms gets a fuck you out of 10.
But for now, I'm just gonna go my way and give Pan 0 out of 4 stars. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Sorry for the rant and ramble at the end, but please leave your comments in the box below, and let's have a discussion about Legend, Creed, and God forbid, Pan, because one of the few things that I am happy about with Pan, because of how horrible it did in the box office, this possible franchise, if you will, yeah, it ain't happening. So I'm kind of happy to hear about that. But for now, I am the Lawn Gnome. Thank you so much for watching, and actions speak louder than words. But for now, I am the Lawn Gnome.